10 Cents was quick to find Big Mac and told him all about Grampus and Lily as he went about his work.
So here's 10 Cents being the ship's scuttlebutt for once and just spreading rumours. Oh, Blue Nose. Seemingly recovered from your last incident. Maybe not quite as a jackass, but then again, there's no naval exercises for him to use as a reason to boss people around. In fact, he seems to be actually trying to be chummy to Big Matt here. Bit chummy to Big Matt. Yeah, that was everything I wanted to mention about Grampus. His name. Lazing about. You'd think if it was the 4th of July that the Navy would be getting in on the action as well. Anyway, Grampus. Well, where's the name come from? Well, there's a few different explanations. Grampus is an old name for an orca whale. It's not really used much nowadays. It's also... That's charming, they're going to blow me up today. It's also the name for a genus of dolphin. And several submarines have been named after it, including some British ones, which were, if I remember correctly, mostly mine layers. So, it's a name that sounds right for some reason. Grampus sounds like a name that suits his character. A useful submarine, done many things for us. Old and out of date. Quite possibly the Navy no longer need their prototype. Maybe they've got the production model going, or they decide to scrap the project. Again, maybe Admiral Annapolis has retired, as we said in Stormbreaker. Oh, I'll stop with the fanon. But no, Grampus has been quite useful to Big City Port. The question is, in what capacity? I mean, what use does Big City have for a submarine? In fact, why would Captain Star even want to buy him? Well, I'll get onto that later. This is Big Mac's also first... I guess this is his first major role. As basically the man... The engine behind the plan to save Grampus, showing his great loyalty to his friends. It is definite, though, that the Navy, when they have a ship they don't really need anymore, will use it for live fire exercises, but they generally try to use enemy combatants. Two interesting ones I can think of are the Graf Zeppelin. Sorry, the Zeppelin. Yeah, Zeppelin, which was the name for the Kriegsmarine, the Nazi Navy's only ever aircraft carrier, which was meant to be a sister ship to Bismarck and Tirpitz, but was instead converted during construction to an aircraft carrier, but never got finished due to Hermann Goering throwing his weight around about who would get control of the planes. The ship was never finished, and so consequently was used as a target for training exercises after the war by the Allies, I think the Soviets, and the Japanese battleship Nagato, which was used as after World War II as a test vessel for the atomic bomb trials at Bikini Atoll. She survived 2 explosions and then sunk in the night. No one knows when she went down, but she's down there. Pay packets, now yeah. Do the tugs get paid and then basically have to pay for their own general repairs and cold water and servicing out of it? Valuable as what? Look at that float back there. Unzip a San Juan banana. I can't read the logo on the wood float, but aren't those Zip and Zugs floats? The upriver breakfast? Nah, OJ the mastermind. You don't sound particularly sad, Blue Nose. Again, this is very grim. This is definitely a kid's show. You know, whereas, for example, Thomas the Tank Engine implied it was, say, scruffy or scrapping, and the show danced around that even... Well, the Railway series implied death in the case of Scruffy, and definitely announced death in the case of engines that got scrapped, and the TV series danced around that. Tugs just tackles it head on. It's rather grim. Oh, I can hear OJ's engine. Here they come. This is also the first time we get to hear this awesome drama music. There's also most notably used when Izzy ran aground in Warrior and in High Winds. And here we have the Clearwater float as well. I've actually got shivers, this is so dramatic. In the television cut of this episode, the destroyer actually yells at them, warning them off. They're about to start firing. Give him a line! 10 cents! OJ? I've got shivers actually, I'm holding my arms out, I've got goosebumps all over me. Now then, Clearwater. Named after Clearwater Productions, which is the production company for the first 2 seasons of Thomas and of Tugs, and a replication of their logo, a hot rod next to a palm tree. I think it's named for Clearwater in Florida, but in the context of the show, Clearwater is the company that provides distilled water, presumably for the ships of the port, because their logo, their motto is Clearwater water supplies, best boiled. Of course, you can't use seawater in a boiler; it'll rot. It will cause a lot of damage. In fact, the great steamships of the era had tanks of distilled water which was pumped into them at port, specifically to be used for use in their boilers. They couldn't just take seawater. In fact, the water was so essential that after used in the engines, it was condensed and sent back into the storage tanks, rather than being sent up the funnel and wasted. That's why you see steamships mostly making smoke instead of steam. Instead of venting the steam up the stack, it was just the smoke. I don't know about the tugs, but obviously they need their supplies of distilled water. Yes, some float. Zoran stealing government property, and now Hercules has got to come up to put Zoran in his place. Old boy, old chap. It's evident that Zoran is intimidated by Hercules, but again, these are basically like the 2 dominant personalities of the 2 fleets up against each other. I really wish that we could have actually seen something like that, or maybe even a zero ocean-going tug. And to counterpoint Hercules, a good name for him might have been Zeus. Good thing you asked. Well, here he is with his, what actually I think might be one of the best floats in the entire parade. It's certainly got creativity on it, and a Model T Ford on top, a Tin Lizzie, right in the middle of his pile of garbage. Oh, say, can you see? This has got to be the 4th of July, the hat like that. Jack is trying to be Uncle Sam. Is it a coincidence that Municipal Garbage Day happens to fall on the same day as the regatta? Was it just something that someone scribbled on a calendar? Let's just honour the Garbage Corporation, pick a random date, or just hide it among. No one wants to actually celebrate garbage, but they've got a right to it, so why not just blend it in with the festivities? That's assuming that no one just made it up. The Princess Alice. There really was an ocean liner called the Princess Alice, and if I remember, she sunk in quite unfortunate circumstances. I'll get more information on that for high winds. A twin funnel steamer. So possibly much smaller than the Duchess in terms of concept, if not the actual model. I think is the same size. Apparently there were 2 full-size ocean liner models. I guess one was the Vienna and the other was the Duchess, which you could take a few funnels off her and change her ventilator pattern and get the Princess Alice. Now, there's their floats, as I mentioned, and we had the Corporation Lightship go by just now, but shouldn't that be out in the estuary deputising for Lily? Oh. Some more fanning coming through here. Lily's flying the modern American flag, which has 51 stars on it. Sally is flying the modern flag, which has 51 stars, but in the 1920s, there were only 49 states. So I take that to mean that there's 2 extra fictional states somewhere, and big cities located in one of them. And here we have the fantastic Bridge Cafe band, but with no one playing the instruments. But it's certainly nice to listen to. And there's the fire tug again. The only other tug beside those, the only other harbour tug hull with the distinctive fletched bumper on the hull. And everyone's won a prize? It sounds a bit like something from The Incredibles. Everyone's special, which means no one is. But everyone put in a good show, so they probably all deserve it.
None of them really knew what was going on.
So yeah, here we have Lily. She's got another... The lightships are no longer used. They've been replaced by automated buoys. The last one was withdrawn in 1985. And here we have Grampus. So what does Captain Star need a submarine for? Because he's bought him. Well, Grampus seems to be very, very useful to the harbour for underwater reconnaissance, sounding out the depth of the harbour and reporting on submerged wrecks. You see him do it in quarantine when he reports on the Fulton Ferry. So I think that Grampus will be used by Captain Star and leased out to the harbour authorities as a means of keeping an eye on what's going on in their waters underwater, keeping an eye on the status of wrecks, on navigational hazards, on the depth of the harbour and where it's silting up. Which will then mean work for Little Ditcher. Scuttlebutt Pete. Well, I managed to keep talking for this entire episode, and I hope I didn't ramble on, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Viva la TUGS!